Welcome, dear friends, at Integral Body Institute Live. My name is Nisarga Eryk Dobosz, and today I have an honor and privilege to invite a very special guest from Hawaii, and this is Dr. Serges Kahili-King. And the topic of our conversation will be Hawaiian wisdom for health, wealth, and happiness. Serges Kahili-King is an internationally renowned speaker and the leader of a worldwide network of teachers, counselors, and therapists who follow his work. He's an author of many works on Huna and Hawaiian shamanism, including Book of Urban Shaman and Instant Healing. He has condensed and simplified shamanic wisdom in a way that allows anyone to quickly learn and apply a wide variety of useful shamanic skills. As an author, Dr. Serges Kahili-King has published the world's largest selection of books and digital media on Huna, the Polynesian philosophy and practice of effective living, and the spirit of Aloha, the attitude of love and peace, for which the Hawaiian Islands are so famous. He also writes extensively on Hawaiian culture. So let me invite Serges Kahili-King to our live conversation on Hawaiian wisdom for health, wealth, and happiness. Welcome, Serges.
Aloha.
Aloha. Aloha. I'm so happy you took my invitation that I wrote you about a week ago for joining our live. I met you in 2018 in Hawaii, Big Island, when I was doing Kinomana 5 Lomi training with Susan, and meeting you was extraordinary for me, and I recollect those meetings with you very, very warmly in my heart.
Good.
Thank you. So maybe we start. How did you begin the journey with Huna and path to shamanic trainings? How did it all happen?
Well, it began before I was born, actually. My father had been adopted by a Hawaiian family, by a man, a man named Joseph Kahili from the island of Kauai. And Joseph Kahili had a tradition in Hawaiian that would be called kupua, which is the close equivalent to shamanism. So he was adopted, he was trained by him. So then we jump forward a long time, and when I was 14, we were living on a farm, and my father introduced me to this knowledge, which I found absolutely fascinating. So I'm the only child out of the family who followed this tradition. So then I began my training with him for 3 years, and then he passed away. And so I was lost for a while, but I ended up in California, where I was contacted by the Kahili family that was living there then. And Joseph Kahili adopted me as a grandson and turned my training over to his daughter, and then later one of his sons. So that's how I got into it on the Hawaiian side. And then going on further, why I did that training for a long time. Spent 7 years in West Africa doing community development, but also being having a mentor of an African shaman, Hausa.
I think he was extraordinary.
So I learned many of the shamanic techniques from him. And then going on after that, I learned things and shared things with other shamans in South America and Mongolia. That's my shamanic background. And the Huna background came from the Hawaiian, of course.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So wow, all your life you dedicated to shamanism. So it's a
right. I've used it in everything I've done.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned already about Huna, and I also read about Huna in your bio. So for those of the audience who don't know, what means Huna and what are the major principles that are guided in life, there are major principles that helps healthy living?
Huna is a Hawaiian word, and it refers to, by itself, it refers to things that are very hard to see. We might call them esoteric. But it could also be physical things like dust or the spray from an ocean wave. And it's been used then in Hawaiian chants to refer to esoteric knowledge. Now, it's been translated as secret, but it's not the kind of secret that you keep from people. It's only secret because it's hard to see. So then when I began deciding to teach this knowledge, when we teach to a modern world, we have to keep things very simple. And so I picked that word as the name for the philosophy that we teach. So the philosophy itself was taught to me by my Hawaiian uncle based on 7 ideas about life. And each one of these, he gave me a Hawaiian word. And over the years, I gradually began sharing more and more of that as I learned more and more of it. So these are what we call the 7 principles. They're principles. They're a philosophy. So we don't treat them as truth. We treat them as tools. The first one says that the world is what you think it is, which means that the way you experience the world is going to be according to what you think of it, what you believe, how you interpret things. That's how you're going to experience the world. The good part is that you can change your thinking and change your experience. Now, we talked about health, wealth, happiness. All of that's involved. Your life changes when you change your thinking about things. The second principle says that there are no limits. Now, that's a curious paradox there because it's an infinite universe. Anything is possible. But in order to do anything, we have to create limits. So like we make rules for games, or we create political systems, or all kinds of things. We limit stuff so that we can accomplish something. But behind that is the fact that there really are no limits. We can make any rules we want about anything. So change your rules and you're going to change your life. So then we have energy flows where attention goes. This is a simple thing that's easily demonstrated. People's attention is attracted to energetic experiences, whether it's football, or whether it's a fire, or whether it's an earthquake, or whether it's a huge celebration. People's attention goes where their energy is. The other side of that is that energy goes where attention goes. Energy flows where attention goes, which means when you put your attention on something, then not only your energy starts moving in that direction, physical, mental, emotional, but you start to attract other energy into the same direction, when it resonates with that. So another way to change your life is to change what you put your attention on. That's, you can look at the bad side or you can look at the good side. You're going to get the effects of either one. So then we have one very, very powerful. It says, based on, of course, Hawaiian concepts, but it says that now is the moment of power. You can't do anything yesterday. You can't do anything tomorrow. Here's where you live, right in this moment. Now, this moment can be a very tiny part of your attention, or it can be very broad when you start thinking on a world scale. That's up to you. But the fact is, it's only now where you can change things. The past is not making you do anything. The memories you have now are the ones that are influencing you. The past is gone. Future doesn't exist yet, but your expectations can have your influence on you right now. And you can change those. You can change how you think about the past, how you think about the future, put more attention into the present moment, and change your life that way. Now we have something that says to love. Now this comes from the word aloha in Hawaiian. To love is to be happy with. This is a very Hawaiian idea. Jealousy is not love. Jealousy is fear and anger. Okay? Love is when you are happy with someone and when you share that happiness. This is basically in the word aloha when you look at the roots. So that's what love is. So increase love, you're going to increase health, wealth, and happiness. This is the more you like something or treasure something or feel good about something, the stronger it becomes in your life. Then we say that all power comes from within. We get influence from the outside, but what matters is how we react to that influence. We can't control everything, obviously. We can control how we respond to things. And when you realize you have the power of choice, that's the huge thing here. It's based on the word mana, which in Hawaiian does mean power. So you can increase your power by increasing your ability to choose consciously. And this helps make you more effective regardless of what the situation is. Now, increasing your energy level is one form of having more power. But again, that comes from a choice and a practice. Choosing this or that way of working for health, wealth, and happiness. When you choose a good way, we'll come up with that, but when you choose a good way, which means a way that works for you and others, you're going to get better effects. When you try to work against something, you're always going to meet resistance. So the last one is that effectiveness is the measure of truth. I find that students have the hardest time with that one. Because what does that mean? Okay. Well, if it works, it's true. Say, oh, now, wait a minute. So then I like to ask people what day it is. Now, here in Hawaii, it's Saturday, and it's February 13th in the year 2021. Yeah, but that's not real. That was made up. It's based on the Gregorian calendar that was made up a long time ago, because there's also the Chinese calendar, which is going on. There's an Indian calendar. There's a Mayan calendar. So people choose to use this one mostly because it's very effective. It allows us to be here, you and I, sharing this knowledge in this moment. Because we use that calendar for timing and everything like that, because it's useful, it works. But it's not the only way to do things. So another aspect of this principle says there's always another way to do anything. There is never just one way. So those are the big that we live by and that we teach.
Amazing. I love this map. I came across first time into 7 principles around 2004 or 2005 when I started my journey with Lomi Lomi Nui Hawaiian massage. And I must say that this is such a powerful map. And I have a question here from the audience from Natalia, and she's asking it's about Kala, about focusing. And the question is, how about continuing to really focus on this one particular thing?
Well, it depends again how you're focusing. Are you focusing on it because you're afraid of it? Are you focusing on it because you don't like it? Are you focusing on it because you love it? So it's not just the focus, it's the reason for your focus, the intention, which is going to have the effect.
All right. I particularly, out of all these 7 principles, for me, all of them are really resonating and are very important. But I think the first one, Ika, awareness, the word looks like you think the word is what you think it is something that really helped me transform a lot of belief system in my life, belief system around my health, around my well-being, around prosperity. There was so much beliefs in my life that really limited me to live my full potential. And I think this first principle was so crucial in my spiritual path that really helped me to thrive and live my dream life at the moment. So I really it's really precious one for me. Ike, awareness.
Good. I agree with that completely because, you know, although I was given this knowledge when I was young, that didn't mean I automatically had absorbed it all. So yeah, I went through a lot of trials and tribulations, but applying this is what got me through them.
Mm. I know you love all of them because they guide also your life. But what is in present state of your life? Which of this principle is the most important for you, or you resonate the most?
No, it doesn't work that way.
No.
Okay. No. These apply all across the board. I don't pick one which is the best. I will pick one in a given situation that is most effective. Oh, sure. But that could change the day and during the day. Depends on what I'm. Yeah. So these are always kind of floating in the background, ready to pick off when I need one.
All right. So let's pick Aloha now. To love is to be happy with. How about that?
Well, I use that one every day, of course. Have a wonderful marriage where we're about to celebrate our 60th wedding anniversary. That's coming up pretty short this year. So, oh yeah, and the friendships and all of that, that is such a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Beautiful. All right, Serge, another question I have: what is Hawaiian understanding of health and happiness? Those are such a big topics that they are like base of human foundation, and we all seek for it. And so, what's your take on that? Health and happiness.
Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good, because I'm not moving. But okay, health is feeling good, and happiness is feeling good, and wealth is having what you need to do what you want. That's very simple. It's not a question of quantity. It's a question of quality on each of these things. So, yeah, that's how we look at it.
Wonderful. And in Hawaiian tradition, what are the ways to stay healthy? What the practices or mindsets?
Okay, well, here we go. Let's look at this is very important because it is different from the way most of the world treats illness and problems. First of all, let's look at health. The Hawaiian word we first want to look at is the word for illness. And the word is ma'i. And what it means is a state of tension. Okay? So that all the Hawaiian healing practices are based on this fundamental idea. All the massage, all the dream work, all the even the use of herbal medicine, and all of this kind of thing is based on this idea that what we're doing is relieving tension and creating movement. Those two things. Because the movement comes from the word for to heal, which is lapa'au, and that's what it means. It means energetic. It means to move. So you might think of it as moving the energy, but it can't happen if you're full of tension. So relieving the tension, and this gives, how can you put it? When you're able to do this, relieving the tension and moving forward, with your mind, body, and spirit, then you have ola, which is the word for life. Very interesting word. Life, health, well-being, which includes prosperity, all of that's included in this one word called ola. It's usually translated as life, but it has all these other meanings as well. And you do that in every case when there's a problem. The problem is resistance. And so I made up a formula to help people understand this a little better. It's based on a formula somebody else used a long time ago, but it's E=mc² minus R. Now, if we put that in my terms, effectiveness is the E, equals motivation, which means not only doing something, but why you're doing it, multiplied by confidence, multiplied by concentration, reduced by resistance. So if you look at that formula, then what you have to do to increase effectiveness is increase any one of the first three things, and then decrease the last one, which is the resistance. So sometimes if your motivation is high enough, you don't have to worry about the others. Or if your concentration is good enough, or if your confidence is good enough. But somehow you also have to reduce that resistance. And the resistance can be mental, emotional, or physical. All right, now here's a kind of a technique that can be used. We talked about the importance of things, but let's talk about this. We call it haipule. Now there's ways to use this. It means, if you look in the dictionary, it means to give a prayer, but it also means to give a spell. It also means to do something to change things, is what it's really all about. So there's four things. I won't bother you with the Hawaiian breakdown, but first of all, now this is regardless of whether you're just working with health, wealth, and happiness. Deep breathing. You're not going to deep breathe all the time, of course, but from what I've seen, most people don't even think about their breathing, and so they fall in either automatically or because of tension into shallow breathing. This has a very important effect on the body. So even if you took out several times a day, you don't have to do deep breathing all the time, but if you took several times a day to take, 5 or 6 deep breaths, you take a deep breath and you hold it for about anywhere from 2 to 4 seconds and then let it go. The holding of it has a kind of a chemical effect inside the body that helps to oxygenize your blood more. Health-wise, this is a very important thing. So some of the times you might get things to help remind you, but do some deep breathing. It can change how you feel and how you act and what you're able to do. It's amazing, just that simple thing. Next thing is to pay attention to your environment, and whatever in your environment there is that is good, acknowledge that goodness. It can be simple, like I can look around and say, I like the things that are behind me on the wall. I can pick each one and say, well, I like that because I remember that, and I like that, and I like that. You can look at things that are around. I like that tree. I like that flower. That's a simple way of doing it, but it's a way of putting your attention on things that are good. This has a powerful relaxing effect on the body. You sustain that for a little bit. It's one of the primary healing techniques that we use for bringing people into the present moment. If you're fully in the present moment, most of the time, the present moment is fine. And your body begins to relax and your mind begins to clear. So that's what's important about that. Imagination is another one. Now you can bring back memories of good and into your imagination, but memories of times when you were healthy and happy is very useful. Or even imagining yourself surrounded by a glow of health, of happiness, of prosperity. One of the things I remember I used to do when I was trying to get into a prosperity mode would be I'd imagine a pile of money in every corner of my room. And every time I look at that corner, I'd imagine there was a great big pile of money there. And this kind of has an effect of enabling you to accept and acknowledge and even have opportunities where the equivalent of that can start happening in your life. So imagination is another powerful thing. You can imagine health. One time, I'll share, when I was very ill and I was in bed, and what I did was I imagined a machine on the bed and doctors from the future. And this was a very, very science fiction type of machine. And it had this thing that pointed toward my chest, which was where the problem was. And so I even imagined the sound of this going om, om, om into my chest. And in about, I fell asleep and woke up completely healthy, no more problem. That's the power of imagination. Mm. And then finally, this is also just as important. This is actually acting. This is doing something physical. Now, it can be something like, you have to do what's practical. Effectiveness is a measure of truth. So this can mean exercise. It can mean drinking water, which most people don't do enough of. It can also mean, if it's appropriate, going to the doctor and getting help there. Remember, the doctors, if you go to a doctor to help you get well, the doctor doesn't make you well. But the doctor becomes a tool to become healthy. So just because you want to work with some esoteric thing, don't ignore what's out there in the world that can help you, whatever it is. Okay, so those are 4 things to think about for increasing your health, wealth, and happiness. So since we still are in a situation here where we can't, and I can't answer any questions because I can't hear you, but if you can hear me, I'll keep going.
Yeah. Do you hear me now? You don't hear.
You had asked me about an inner technique that I might be able to suggest. So this is a suggestion. I'm not going to take you on this, but it's like a guided meditation. Very simple. You can do it yourself, and I'll tell you the elements of it that you can do. We have something we call the inner garden. And we think of it as being in an invisible world. Doesn't matter. You can think of it as being in your imagination if you like. That doesn't matter. But anyway, what you do is you get yourself comfortable, close your eyes, and think of a garden. It can be out of memory, or it can be one you make up. But you think of a garden. Then you want to see something as clearly as you can. Doesn't have to be perfectly clear, but try to get your focus on something that you can see. Let's say like a tree, as an example. And then next thing you do is listen for something. Now you can imagine that you are making these things up. No problem. Go ahead and do that. But you might hear the wind blowing through the tree, okay? Or birds singing in the branches. And then you want to touch something. So you can touch the bark of the tree, you can touch a stone, touch a flower. These 3 things, sight, sound, and touch, are what help you focus in this inner world. So then once you're focused there, you've got a garden as best you can, doesn't have to be perfect. You want to find an open space or make one. So there's an open space. And you want to ask the garden for a symbol of the problem, whatever it is. If it has to do with health, wealth, or happiness, doesn't matter. You ask the garden for a symbol. Could come in any form. Might not look like anything like what you think the problem is. That doesn't matter. Whatever appears, take a good look at it. Whether you like it or you don't like it, take a good look at it. And then what you do is use your imagination to change it into something better. You can change the shape, change the material it's made of, change the way it moves or acts, but you turn it into something that makes you feel good. Mm. And that's the healing part. That helps to heal the problem, again, whether it's health, wealth, or happiness. You change the symbol of it, And when you have the feel-good response, then you say thank you to the garden. And the easiest way to come out is not only open your eyes, but take a deep breath and move your fingers and toes. That helps you get out of this inner world and back in to the present one.
I really enjoyed this conversation, especially the journey into the inner garden. It's such a powerful meditation that I think we can really develop this sense of shamanic sensitivity and be able to connect with this shamanic reality of ours. So thank you guys for being with us. Keep on practicing inner garden. Find out more about Huna and 7 principles of Huna. It's such a powerful map for spiritual growth. And thank you for watching us. And aloha, mahalo.